So the book that we're here to talk about today, The Accidental President, Harry H. Truman and the 4 months that changed the world.
Yeah.
What'd you order to drink?
Coffee.
Coffee? Oh.
Coffee never fails.
Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers.
What do you think of the library?
Oh my God. This is insane. I mean, it's incredible.
How did you come about it?
Friends sent it to me. I find myself in these, boardrooms with, hundreds of bankers trying to work through situations. And I'm like, I don't speak that language. He, of course, chewed me out. And then Christmas, I got this book.
So what was he chewing you out for specifically?
Thinking that because I didn't have that pedigree, that I couldn't achieve or couldn't accomplish.
We love talking about books that have changed people's lives, like had such an impact that they are different after reading the book. And our special guest today is Robert Palleschi. So how did The Accidental President, Harry S. Truman, change your life?
I would say that it
just books, you end up buying a bunch and you got stacks on the floor and then you put them on a shelf and then you buy more and
that's outrageous.
It just kind of grows.
I mean, it's incredible.
So how many books do you have at home, do you think?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. I don't count. I don't count them. They're kind of like all scattered. We move a lot, so they're kind of scattered between boxes and places all around the house and all that. It wasn't early on. I mean, I didn't start like really paying attention to books until I got older, and I did all the cursory stuff that you had to do through school, but didn't really pay much attention. And then as the older I got, the more interested I got. And then you find you find something that just grabs your attention and you just carry it on from there. So
what are the categories?
I like a lot of biographies.
I
like history, I like biographies, that kind of stuff. Just anything that I can not necessarily learn from, but more inspired by. I love the underdog. You gotta like, that's why I like this book about Harry S. Truman. And the S stands for absolutely nothing, but you gotta admire a guy like that. So ordinary, so humble, just, pulled himself up by his own bootstraps. And so you wouldn't think. And so it's like, how can't you be inspired by that? So, I don't know.
Why do you move a lot?
Hotel business. I used to manage hotels early on and then moved up to the corporate office. But when you're managing hotels and it's, you're always, at least for me, I took the roles and the jobs that kind of nobody else wanted because, they were hard. And you could, get attention. You could really kind of chart your own way because everybody had kind of low expectations. So you just worked hard and you could turn a situation around. And then once you turned that around, then get moved to the next place. So it was kind of a hassle, but more of a hassle on the family than me. It was always easier for me.
Like where are the jobs that people don't want?
In hotels, when you start out, it's, no one wants the jobs that are like housekeeping. And nobody wants to do housekeeping or stewarding, which in the old days was like the washing the dishes, the pots, the pans, and all that sort of stuff. Nobody wanted those jobs. And actually, those are like some of the most rewarding, and they're actually the most fun because you're dealing with like real people with real problems. And, you've got, you get pretty creative. Especially starting out young in management, you get, when you find out that half of your department just, got arrested the night before and you're racing downtown to try to bail them out, that you get pretty creative with that stuff. But then, throughout the hotel business, there's it's a tough job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you never close. And so a lot of people try to get away from managing hotels and move up to the corporate office. And so for me, I just stuck with it.
What'd you order to drink?
Coffee.
Coffee? Oh, cheers.
Coffee never fails,
So this is a coffee tonic.
Oh, nice.
Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers. A coffee tonic.
What is it? So what is this?
What is this? Yeah.
Coffee tonic.
What's a coffee
Is it espresso?
tonic?
from Seattle.
Nice.
We take our coffee pretty serious here.
Oh man, that's really good. That's delicious.
So what is the secret to hospitality and running profitable hotels?
Take care of your people. 100%. Just take care of your team. Listen to your team. Everyone has a story to tell, and just listen. And try to be as supportive as possible. Try to, coach them, counsel them. I've never been a big fan of all that, the documentation or the annual reviews. It's like, wait, I'm going to wait 365 days to tell you how you're doing. Coach, counsel along the way, but take care of your team. If you take care of them, if you're loyal to them, they'll take care of you. And be realistic and transparent. A lot of people don't
tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Tell them what's going on. If it's tough, if things are bad, enlist their help, and they'll rally around and they'll make things happen. So, I mean, I think it's not more complicated than that. And I think some people get a little bit over their skis and they think they know all the answers when they don't. So, at least just be kind.
What's the best hotel that you've ever stayed at?
Oh, the best hotel I've ever stayed at? Oh, that's a tough question. I stayed at like amazing hotels. When I advanced my way and I finally made my way to the corporate office at Hilton, and I had the honor of being in charge of all full service brands globally. So I got to stay in amazing properties all around the world. The properties that stand out to me are the ones that, again, tell a story. We had a Hilton at Trafalgar, right at Trafalgar Square, and in London, and this beautiful view of Admiral Nelson's column and the art museum and all of that. And what a lot of people failed to recognize was it used to be the headquarters for the White Star Lines. So on the the second floor, it was an amazing meeting room, all ornate and historic, great wood and, amazing, this just amazing meeting room that looked at Admiral Nelson's column. And that was the office where the chairman of the White Star Line learned that his Titanic was sinking. And it's like those types of properties that tell a story, it's like, there's something romantic in that. So whether it's that or the Waldorf in Rome overlooking, the Basilica, and the Vatican, it's just, those types of properties. I think those are the ones that stand out the most.
Almost museum pieces in a way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, That's great. How many books do you read a year?
I don't know, probably, I don't think I've ever counted, a couple dozen, yeah.
So
Yeah, I usually have a couple like cooking at the same time, which is kind of dumb.
why is it dumb?
I don't know. I just think between managing a business and navigating all the email and then to have 2 books going, it seems a little I should focus on one and finish it. I'm reading Patriot right now about Navalny, his memoir, and at the same time I've got War going from Bernstein. So it's kind of like flipping back and forth. Although I'm kind of like a little bit torn on War right now. I'm like over War, but I still feel like I got to read it.
So you feel obligated to finish a book when you start?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, I feel obligated to it. No, you don't.
Never.
You don't feel.
Book works for me.
Yeah. I don't know why. It feels like there's like
I own them. They work for me.
It feels like there's a law there. I know. Sometimes I'll be honest. Sometimes I'll put it down and I'll come back to it like a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later. I'll come back to it and be like, But yeah, I feel like I've got to read it.
I don't think I've ever come back to a book.
No?
Like if it doesn't connect, I just don't connect.
Have you read the same book like a few times?
Oh yeah, tons.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay.
I've read books. Right after I finish it, I just start it again.
Really?
Yeah. Same thing with the experiences or movies or something. If I think it's really good, there's things that I've seen 50 times.
That's amazing.
Just trying to understand the layers.
Yeah.
Like you start to get, and also in writing books, there's layers to books. Like there's a book called Body for Life that I've probably read 50 times. because of the cadence and just the storytelling, and the design of the book is to sell protein powder. It's an interesting business model, like, and it's written by an incredible author, but it's written like copy, like sales copy, and it, it gets you emotionally, and then it towards the like halfway through, then it tells you the how to. So it's all emotional up front, and then it flips to, okay, now here's how you lift weights, here's how you eat. And that part in and of itself would just be easy, but it wouldn't stick if they didn't tell you the stories up front to emotionally attach you.
Right.
So it's an incredible work of art in a sense that, I think the most valuable part of his company was the protein powder that he sold on the back end, but the book was a contest for, working out, and gave away his Ferrari to the person who used his stuff and got the best results. And it's all before and after pictures inside.
Yeah.
It's
fascinating.
Just amazing.
I don't know how I can't imagine writing a book. I just can't imagine. I don't know, because I don't know where to start. I don't know where and I just don't know. It's just.
Well, yeah, you would know if you were going to write a book because you'd have something you want to say.
Right.
You don't just write a book, I don't think. You want to say something, or you want to research something and share it with the world that you're interested in or something. But it has to be bigger than you, or you'd probably never get it done.
Yeah.
Because you give a piece of your soul. And then you put it out there, and like, you got to listen to people's opinions about it.
Yeah, that's always amazing. It's always
that's the vulnerability of the whole
coming at it, and they come at it from a different perspective, right? They come at it, commercial perspective, or this perspective or that, and it could have nothing to do with what the author intended, and didn't necessarily care to be a commercial success, or hit the New York Times bestseller list. I guess that's always a goal, but may not have started out like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, even that is relative, right? Because like I have a friend who's, I think he's got 6 New York Times bestsellers, and I was at his house once, and I had a book that was #1 on Amazon in 5 different categories for a while, and he was talking down to me, and the whole time I'm like,
dude,
bro,
what?
The New York Times is a curated list. You're
Right.
selling or you're not.
You're selling or not.
And so to me, it's just funny how there's a prestige with something, but really at the end of the day, it's manufactured for a certain mystique, but it isn't really the real measurement of book sales. I have no aspirations to be a New York Times best-selling author, but I know that I sell more books than most of them.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
I'm more about the connection.
That's awesome. That's great.
I'm writing the book for the individual, not for the masses.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to attract a certain kind of person.
Are you working on something now?
I am.
Anything you can share?
So in my last book, which is called I Am Leader, there's 2 books. One is the I Am, and then the second one is Leader. And, and the thing that I've learned in fixing businesses is that people talk about leadership with these dog whistles, but most of what they're talking about is management. It's not leadership. And everybody feels good buying a leadership book, but leaders eat last and all that cheesy stuff really isn't leadership. Like, real leadership is like hard, and you have people's lives in your hands. Like, it's not a joke. And it's not, it's not a motivational feel-good thing, in a sense. So when I started to write a book on leadership, it became very clear to me that you had to deal with the individual way before you could talk about being a leader.
Right.
Like, you had to fix the person, because you can't be a really flawed individual and be a leader.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. So in that, the one thing that I've learned, because that book's been out, 7-8 months now, none of the conversations in the app that comes with the book or that I have with people are about leadership. Nobody gets through the I Am. They get stuck there.
Yeah.
And so the next book is kind of a different version of that, where it's called You. And so it's about the individual.
Well, that's good.
And so I'm taking a different approach to that subject.
Are they stuck there because they're just focused on like the management component of it, or are they stuck there because they just want somebody to hit the easy button and give you the answer? do this.
No, they're stuck there because it's about them and organizing yourself before you can be a leader. And organizing yourself doesn't happen through a dog whistle or in a motivational quote.
Yeah.
You got to put in the work and you got to think about it.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking about it and they're working on it.
Yeah.
But most people realize that there's a lot of work to do there before the leadership component comes in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. 100%. People don't want, a lot of people don't want to put in the work.
And they don't want to take responsibility.
No responsibility. Or they just assume that because, I've been doing this for 5 years, now I get this title. And I do that for 5 years, I get that title. And then they go to the new role and they try to make their new role exactly like their old role, bringing all the frustrations, all the pain, all the anxiety with them. And then they expect a different result.
Yeah, and they become entitled by
right,
by time, but not results. Where leadership is about outcomes and results, it's not entitlement.
Yeah.
You don't need a title to be a leader. In fact, most of the great leaders like Martin Luther King and stuff had no title.
No.
It was irrelevant. No, and also nobody knighted them or gave them permission, right?
Exactly.
They took it.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the other part too, is, not waiting for permission.
No, and it's rare. There's very few people that are, that hit that category. I think there's some that are, I think there's leaders that are outside of business too. I mean, you see all kinds of different people stand up and take the lead in an emergency situation, or a health of a family member, and they take that lead and they own that responsibility. But then when it comes to business, it falls apart. They just can't do that. They lack the confidence over there when you're making more important decisions about a family member's, in a hospital than you are, working in an office. It's kind of crazy.
So the book that we're here to talk about today, The Accidental President, Harry H. Truman and the 4 Months That Changed the World. So how long ago did you read this?
I read it back like in 18. I think when it first came out.
2018?
2018.
How did you come about it?
Friend sent it to me.
And said, who's his friend?
Guy's name is Jeff Kurzweil.
What does Jeff do?
Jeff is an attorney. He's a partner at
What's his win-loss record?
He's not that kind of like attorney. He's kind of like, at least in the hotel space, he's like the consigliere of hotel CEOs. He's really well connected, and his offices are in DC, and he's just like the coolest guy around. He tells it like it is. He holds court at a dive diner in McLean, Virginia. He goes to the cigar bar next door, and he's there with senators, congressmen, governors, Saudi royalty, and he holds court, and he, kind of is a fixer or makes you think of things differently. But so he sent me the, I don't know, I was in.
Why did he send it to you?
I don't know. I was like, I don't know, maybe I was in this like defeatist mode.
He knew that?
We had been going through a number of different issues at a company I was running, and I kept like banging my head up against the wall. And in the hotel industry, Cornell is like the top dog, right? You want to go to Cornell, and everybody that comes out of Cornell produces the C-suite execs. It's widely known, widely recognized. I didn't do that. I went to a different school, Johnson & Wales, and kind of had to pull myself up by my own bootstraps, right? Had to do all the hard work. And so then you find yourself, there's a couple of times in some complicated situations, I find myself in these, boardrooms, down on Wall Street with, hundreds of bankers and lawyers and trying to work through situations. And I'm like, I don't speak that language. I can, you want to talk about washing dishes and making beds, and you want to talk about, running a profitable hotel, I'm your guy. But when it comes to some of this stuff, and he, of course, chewed me out, gave me a lecture for, a long time. And then Christmas, I got this book.
Well, so what was he chewing you out for specifically?
Just for
Being self-deprecating?
Yeah, I think self-deprecating for like this defeatist attitude, or not thinking that because I didn't have that pedigree, that background, that I couldn't achieve or couldn't accomplish.
Do you think this self-deprecating is a protection mechanism?
Yeah, and sometimes it is. Yeah, sometimes it is. But I think I use it because 9 times out of 10, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and I know that. But I can make you laugh.
It's funny. In high school,
Yeah.
I was voted. So there was this girl. She was our class president. I went to a big high school. There was like 2,200 students.
Yeah.
And 2,200 students, and it was only 10, 11, 12. So they kept 9th grade at the junior high because it was so big.
Right.
And nobody there will ever vote to build another high school.
Yeah.
So like, it is what it is. Stop having kids, basically, is the message.
That's the message, yeah.
So our class president, I was kind of an odd kid because I played some sports, but I had long hair and I was a musician, and I didn't really fit in a category, but people liked me. But I wouldn't say I was popular, but everybody knew who I was. She came to me and she goes, "Hey, you were voted funniest in the yearbook." And I was like,
"What?
Huh?" Like, I'm not funny. That's pain. That's me like trying to survive this.
It's just because you tell the truth, and in that sarcasm and in pointing out the obvious, people like will either get shocked, and some people find it funny, but it's just
But it was shocking to me that people perceived like I'm not a stand-up comedian,
right?
Like I'm just like I'm making fun of authority is what I'm doing, Like it was interesting. So do you feel like that in a way, like that it's a protection mechanism?
No, I mean, I think I used to. Now it's just, you get to the point where it's like, you kind of just don't care anymore, right? It's like, you just like, what's it matter? It's like in the scheme of things, what's the worst thing that can happen here? So now I'll just say whatever's on my mind. But for a period of time there, I think it was that self, facing humor was probably a defense mechanism. Yeah.
What do you think he saw or witnessed that made him?
Oh, he knew I could work through situations. He knew I could get through it, and historically, I've always been able to navigate it. And I think he just, it was probably it was a tiring time. It was a difficult time. There was a lot of people coming at us from a bunch of different angles, and it was just, I think I just got in my own way, and I think he was sending me a message by like, look, here's another guy that didn't expect any of this and was handed this crazy situation, and but was hardworking, was had no enemies, and was willing to do whatever to dig himself out of this hole. And, he followed an amazing leader in Roosevelt, right? And so I think he sent me that book as a message. It kind of was a wake-up call.
So you get it. And is there a note or?
Read this.
That was the note. Read this. Yeah. And so then how long does it take you to read it?
I think I blew through it in maybe a couple of weeks. Yeah, I blew through it faster than usual because he's just, I'm
who it was in the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just,
you're open to learning the lesson.
I was open to it, but it was also more along the lines of the only thing I really recognized about Truman was the fact that he followed FDR, right? And the fact that he made the decision to, drop the atomic bomb and all that. And that was kind of the end of it. But I didn't realize all the complexity that, that he had to deal with and how crazy it was. And his first 4 months in office, everything that he had to do. I mean, there was a survey that was taken in 1945, and it said, it was talking about basically across the globe, who had the biggest impact on the world. FDR was number 1. Jesus, number 2, and Abraham Lincoln was 3.
Wow.
He beat Jesus. FDR beat Jesus. And this guy's got to follow that? good luck, right? And here he is, a humble guy who's never been a governor, never been a mayor, got the job basically because he didn't have any enemies. And everybody was like, he's hardworking, he's a good guy, he's not going to do any harm. And then he, shows up after FDR dies, and he has to deal with, the fall of Nazi Germany. He has to deal with everything that's happening in the Pacific, and, deal with all that. He learned the first time was right after he was inaugurated, he learned that there was an atomic bomb. He had no knowledge, and they wouldn't even tell him the whole story. They only gave him enough to be dangerous, and because they didn't even trust him. I mean, but he kept everybody in the cabinet, he kept everybody together, and he powered through all that sort of stuff. And a guy that I think everybody would have expected the president, and even still to this day, you would expect the president of, experience, means, wealth. He as vice president, he rented an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. His wife, his daughter, they had 5 rooms altogether. He rented. It's just, who would think? He couldn't afford his own house. And so it's like, I know, I read that and I'm like, okay. So I immediately called Jeff. I gave him a whole rash of shit, and that was the end of it.
So what was the first part of the book that connected with you?
I think it was just the fact that I think the beginning of the book, early on, when it was talking about, his background and all the obstacles that he faced.
You could relate to that.
I could, yeah.
Do you not have any enemies?
I'm sure I've got some. I don't think I do.
No?
No,
What is it about you that keeps you from having enemies?
I think that I start off with not wanting anything from anybody. I don't want anything from anybody. I don't need anything from anybody. So I don't
walk me through how that's possible.
Oh, I don't really need anything. I've got everything I need, and I'm pretty good. So whatever, however I can help somebody else, or, be supportive of somebody else.
Yeah, but if you're in a role,
yeah.
Like if you're in a role and you're trying to accomplish something, you need things from people to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it could be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, but I think in the standpoint of if you're doing business, if it's straight up business, this company that I'm at now, taking that over was not an easy task. There was it was an adversarial relationship, but my only role was to help make it better. And so
adversarial with who?
Adversarial between the company was sold, and it went from a public company to a private into private equity, and I was sent in there to run the business. And the old guard liked it exactly the way it was, and didn't want to change anything. And they had thought everything was perfect and everything was great, the way they were doing it, and they didn't need to change. Well, at the end of the day, there's always an opportunity to improve, right? And so I didn't have any, I had an agenda, and the agenda was, let's, work together. Let's work with the existing team. Let's not make changes. I don't need to bring in others. I'm going to work with everybody there until they no longer want to work there, until they no longer want to serve. And let's figure out how we can improve. What do we need to do different? Whatever the discipline was. And so, maybe along those lines, maybe I wouldn't say I made enemies, but may have pissed off some people. Which I still think is a little bit different than someone that's trying to come after me.
Well, the difference is they don't agree with what is happening, but they don't take it as a personal attack because you're not personally attacking them.
Right.
You just have differences in what you think is possible.
Yeah. I'll lay everything on the table. I'll tell everybody what is going to go on, what the objective is, what the plan is. And I'll help them understand it. I'll have as many conversations as necessary, to ensure that there's clarity and that really there's understanding. Then if they don't go and do it, then, we have conversations. What do we need to do? What do we need to do different? Why isn't this working? How are you getting the right support? Then at some point, if they still can't achieve it, then you have a different conversation. But it can still be respectful. It doesn't need to be adversarial. It doesn't need to be hostile. You just say, look, I'm sorry, this isn't working. I think it's not working. I know it's not working. So, let's make a change.
Yeah. Let's
And
just be honest about it.
and then you move on. And I don't think that, maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I have, made some enemies along the way. I don't think so, because I think everybody has been kind of pretty supportive. But
I've found many times in turning stuff around that the one thing that is different is just my ability to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Everybody else doesn't want to talk about they're talking about everything else.
As I see it, I mentioned it earlier, is somebody comes from comes to a new role, and they try to make that new role exactly like the old one, and just bring the same frustrations along and all that. And as I told everybody, with this company, with my prior company, with the other one before that, like, clean slate, start from scratch. Let's make it the way we want it. How would we do this, and what's the right way to do it? This is where we need to get to. Here's the number. Here's the performance number. Here's the metric. Here's, et cetera, whatever it is. Here's what you're going to get when we get there. Here's the incentive for you, and, lay it on the table. How do we do it? Because I don't have the answers. I don't know these businesses. I don't know all the inner workings, but I can tell you, this is what I do know. This is what I think would work. And then what kind of support do you need? But a lot of times people just don't want to, they get in their own heads.
How long does it usually take you to turn it around?
3 years, 3 to 4 years to start really seeing good, consistent, positive progress. But I don't know, is it really ever turned around? I mean, I don't know. In my experience, there's for a long time, I was addicted to fixing. Yeah.
So there's a point where it's fixed enough that they don't need me anymore.
Right.
And that's when they're profitable and they're constantly improving.
And that's when I tap out.
Yeah. So I think there is a point where it's never fixed, but
right.
It's healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want that kind of, when I say, is it really ever fixed? I think there's some that, the old Six Sigma thing, the old Jack Welch, everything that went with GE and all that sort of stuff like that. It was like, and then what happened to GE afterwards? You cut the bottom 20% all the time. You're constantly improving, but then the company did really implode. The real estate business, the insurance business, I guess the jet engine business is still doing okay, but it kind of blew up. So it's like, lots of hype, lots of stuff. I'd rather be kind of like, I don't need to be the front guy. I'm better like behind the scenes, let the business speak for itself. I don't need all kinds of praise for having all these great ideas on how to do things. And I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but.
No, it makes sense though.
Yeah, it's just if a company that's like successfully, that's successful long term, consistently, producing, returns for their investors, that's taking really good care of their team, taking really good care of their customers. That's something to admire.
Would your experience be the same as mine in the sense that when you go in to fix something that's broken, the culture is a culture of maintaining?
Yes.
And then what you have to do is you have to create a culture of constant improvement.
Yes.
And so that's hard. That's the break, right? Is, a lot of times you got to bring in a couple people that see the horizon, and you got to stack the deck with some examples, because if you're just maintaining, what happens is the market changes on you, and you end up being way further behind
1,000%.
than you thought was possible. And it's all because you're not looking at how you can constantly improve the experience for the customer, the business, your margins, all of that.
And that's it. And that right there, that continuous improvement, it's like, that should be a value. And instead, people talk about culture. Oh, we've got an amazing culture. Yeah, you've got words above a copier. Or maybe words in a break room. And they're words that shouldn't even be, that say nothing about culture. They're like behaviors of some sort, but it's like, honesty, truth, fun, like, really? Well, so we were running a business that was going to lie, right? That doesn't seem like a recipe for success. It's just, but that continuous improvement, Everyone just really striving to, together to partner with each other. That's a winning formula.
Yeah. I mean, I see it very similar. Like, it's just dog whistles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite
Dog
things
whistles.
is when I was running
awesome.
this BMW dealership, and BMW would have their annual marketing meeting in Hawaii every year.
Yeah.
Which was just an excuse for us to go to Hawaii.
Right.
But they would have a meeting. There was a meeting, and one of the speakers they had one year was Jeffrey Gitomer. Have you ever heard of him? He wrote the Little Red Book of Sales.
Oh, yeah.
He comes out in like a mechanic's like onesie, and he goes, how many of you guys have mission statements? And I don't know, like 75% of them.
Right.
And he walks up to a guy and he goes, "What is it?"
Nobody knows.
And he goes, "Ah!"
Nobody knows.
It was the greatest. I was like, I love this guy. It's your gold leaf mission statement over the copy machine, like you said, and it's like, yeah, nothing changed. You just did a thing.
It's like, yeah, you have, and they have
That's
these.
not culture.
Not at all. And they have these, I always pontificate at times when things weren't going well and I was running hotels or, or was a regional, whatever. I'm like, the people that should actually run the business are our housekeepers.
Yeah.
Right. So you think of this, this immigrant, English is the second language, mostly single parents, a couple of kids. That individual has to get up at like 4 a.m, get herself ready, get their kids ready, bring them to some sort of daycare or some sort of program, because she has to come to us. She works with us 8-10 hours in a thankless job.
Works
hard in a thankless job. We give them a couple of breaks, give them a 30-minute lunch break for whatever. Then gets back on a bus, goes to pick up their kids at an auntie's house or a sister's house or a daycare, brings them back home, feeds them, helps them with whatever schoolwork, bathes them, gets them to bed, and has 10 minutes of her life before it passes out. I'm like, that's someone who should run our properties.
Yeah.
If they can run that household.
It's kind of the same in the automotive business.
Yeah.
Is the porters know more about. You can ask a porter and they'll tell you which salesmen don't follow up, who doesn't, who's sleeping with who, what customers say, right? Because they know what customers say. Like, customers complain about this when they deliver the car, or they know everything.
Yeah.
And they want it fixed, but they feel helpless. And if you empower them, I mean, that's really where it starts. If you want to turn stuff around, the thing that I've observed is the guy with the gold leaf mission statement over the copy machine, most of the time, nobody's answering the phone.
No.
The simple stuff.
Yeah.
We're not doing the simple stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the execution,
Answer the phone and then listen.
It's thankless.
Right.
Like, a lot of culture is doing the thing that's thankless, not the thing that everybody's worshiping and praising.
Right. It's amazing. And it's amazing how we as a society have kind of like lowered the whole standard, because now it's like, now for me, I go nuts with rules. You go to a restaurant and they will give you the rules, right? You're paying your own money to be in this restaurant, and they're going to tell you when to order, how to order, right? They're going to give you all these kind of, no, that's another chef wants the whole meal, I'm like, dude, I've run restaurants. I've run hotels with thousands of meals. I know how it works. He doesn't need the whole thing at the same time because he ain't looking at it. And I got news for you. The chef isn't even there. It's his other team. So stop with the rules. Like, just accommodate the customer and you'll sell more, and just be kind.
Well, Matt here, who runs our marketing.
Yeah.
We have a saying, nothing works anymore.
Yes.
You pay more.
Yes.
And nothing works.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even when you pay like whatever, like it just nothing works anymore. Nothing works that you pay for. Like It's all just a facade. Like, you can't get a hold of anybody. There's no follow-up. There's no support, nothing.
Get it. There's a guy here in town, actually, he who made his way to me because he had an issue with his daughter staying at one of our communities at University of Texas. And he's like, and I answered the phone. He's like, who is this? And it's Rob. He says, yeah, I need to talk to, Rob Palleschi. I'm like, yeah, this is he. He says, seriously, who is this? I'm like, it's me. He didn't believe it. He's like, I've tried to call a bunch of people. He's like, and I'm like, no, it's me. What do you need? And long story short, not only did we resolve his daughter, we've had like breakfast a couple of times. We stay in contact with each other. There's probably while I'm here in LA, I'll go have a drink with him. And it's like, why, how difficult was that? Of course, the team wasn't happy. They didn't want me meddling around with it. They're like, stay out of this. We got this. If you got this, he would have never got to me.
Yeah, for sure. If it got to you, it's broken.
Right.
I learned that from this great car dealer that I worked for, Don Crevier, is if it got to him, he was giving it away.
Yeah.
And I remember one time he called me into the office and we would review the financial statement, and he goes, and he'd had the account printed out, and he goes, this is out of control here. We're just giving stuff away. Blah. He goes, look at this. We gave away a set of $15,000 wheels, whatever, to this customer. And I go, yeah, remember that couple with the 7 Series a month ago that you gave the wheel? And he was like, oh, okay. Because if it got to him, it didn't matter. He was going to make a point.
Right.
That he was giving it away. So if you don't want to give it away, don't let it get to me, which was very effective.
Yeah.
But he'd forgotten he'd given it away.
Car dealers are tough. Car dealers,
Well, the margins are thin, but it's like hospitality. You got to take care of people.
Yeah. And the service is kind of is again, a lost art.
There's a stat in the car business that if you take care of them in service and they use you for service, they're 17 times more likely to buy the next car from you.
17.
So what is that? 1,700%.
That's insane.
But car dealers don't focus on that.
No.
But that's where it's at.
Yeah.
That relationship. I mean, it's relationships is what it is. It's hospitality.
Yeah.
Like, you either have the hospitality bug or you don't.
Right.
You either care about people and you have empathy or you don't.
And
there was I don't know from the time I was very young, I just always liked the problem customers. Like, if there was somebody that everybody walked around and you can tell nobody wanted to help them, I wanted to hear that story. Like, I was just curious. Like, they're not going to punch me.
No.
Like, come on, give it. And it ended up that because I was curious about their story and I listened, that ended up being the recipe for fixing stuff, which I stumbled on by accident because I was just really curious about people. But nobody else had listened to them. Everybody else wanted to fight with them.
You listen. And the story, and at the end of the day, the angst really isn't that big of a deal, right? No. What started it wasn't that big of a deal. And it was
they just want somebody to confirm that it's not the way that it should be.
Yeah.
And accept responsibility for it, or try to fix it, or tell them that you're going to work on it, whatever.
And just listen. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times in my career I've heard you're the first person that actually listened.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I definitely got to work on that with my people. Because you're reasonable. Everything you said is reasonable.
Right.
And you're not as crazy as everybody thought you were.
No, exactly. You never get it's never that bad. And
no, when people say, I got this, they're crazy, they're out of their mind, and you talk to them and you're like, no, they're actually really fun.
Yeah.
Like, they're not crazy. I'd invite them to a party. Like, that's the kind of person you want at a party. The one that will do something. You guys are all hiding in the back.
Just sticking on process and procedure.
Yeah.
Hiding behind rules.
What else is in your recipe to turn stuff around?
I think for me, it's just working with all those guys and just really partnering, understanding what the role is and how we together can achieve success. And, and just collaborating. And really, it is over communicating. It is being transparent. Bad news never gets better with time. So just lay the cards on the table, and end of the day, it's like everybody wants to achieve outsized performance. The market's the market, right? The market will dictate. I mean, I can't, change market forces. So it's like you do the best you can, but you partner with everybody. You're collaborative. You're transparent. That's kind of the way it works. It's all like those words, but it's not just words that I keep telling the team. You have to do it. You have to live it. You have to breathe it. And if you're trying to put together a presentation for them, to send to them, and they're not included in crafting it, then you're wrong, right? It's just, that's not how it works. Include them in the process.
How much does design play into hospitality in hotels?
A lot, a huge amount. It really can differentiate and change the whole experience. I think in hotels years ago, it was very prescriptive. And by that, you had the front drive, you had the doorman, you had the bellman, right? You had the front desk was here. And then you had, here was the lobby area, and this is what you did in the lobby area. And then you went over here to this elevator, and then everything was very purposeful and telling you what to do in that very specific area or how to behave.
And very similar.
Very similar.
It didn't matter if it was a 5-star or a 1-star.
All kind of the same.
Go to the elevator, you're on floor 2.
All kind of the same and all that sort of stuff like that. And then it was, I don't know, 20 years ago, where a bunch of us in different, at competitors and all of us, everybody started, banging their heads against the wall like, okay, what do we really want? You want to enable the customer, the guest, to use the space however they want to use it. Right. And it was the advent of more technology was coming into play. Laptops were coming more into play. Everybody had their BlackBerry at that time. Right. And so what do you need? You need more power. So you just need more power. You don't need prescriptive spaces. You no longer need to have these workstations with a computer where somebody goes, sits down and all that. People just need access to printers. So then you just started changing everything. It's like, okay, so why does this lobby have to be here? Why do I have to eat here? Why can't I eat and drink here while I'm working on my laptop? So it started moving to more of a zone kind of thing. And then I think we got honest with ourselves and said, let's face it, 9 times out of 10, people just want to get in and get out, right? You just want the easiest path. So how do we put a barrier-free path to like the elevators to get in and out? And rather than putting up, the grocery stores, it's like they put the barrels of stuff around to like kind of like, it's like IKEA. Once you get in, you never get out. Barrier-free, let them get in and out. And then, so we did a lot of that. Change the zone space to make it more user-friendly, let everybody decide what they wanted. And then up in the guest rooms, it's just following what was happening in the residential market. Less tubs, more stand-up showers, bigger, more generous bathrooms, right? Desk space that actually is functional, that actually works, where you can actually, hey, here's an idea. How about you can see the TV from the desk? Right. And without having to, so many properties, the TV was facing this way and the desk was over here. You couldn't even see that, you just listened to it all the time. If I want to work and watch the game at the same time, you should enable that. So design is critically important. And I think we started getting a better appreciation for it. And then here in the States, a lot of what we did was import some good ideas. And learn from what was happening, the efficiency of Japan, the creativity of, what was coming out of China or the Middle East, and bringing a lot more of that here. And then also checking our egos, because our ego always said that we have to run our own restaurants. It has to be ours. And nobody else. Nobody else can run it. We run it. It's our restaurant, our name. We're going to run it. And oh, by the way, instead of having this specialty restaurant that you're going to come to, this great, steakhouse that this great, amazing, also will still smell like bacon from morning's breakfast because we're trying to be all things to all people. So we checked our egos and started bringing in, partners. Started bringing in, the old, bringing in more chefs. Leasing out the space or cutting deals where we would share in some of the top line or the bottom line, et cetera, and just change that experience overall.
So Wolfgang Puck was telling me that I think he has 11 cuts. Yeah. And I go, well, how does it work? And he goes, well, in some, it's a rev share. Right. The hotel wants us and they put up the money, we build it, and then we share. In others, it's a management contract. Yeah. And in others, we own them outright, and it's ours.
And it's just,
and it's whatever, he's, it depends on the need and the situation.
Yeah. And he's such a cool guy.
Oh, he is. He's the greatest.
He's so cool. And he's so kind. And he just stops and talks to everybody in the restaurants. And he's
A couple of years ago, we had a little Christmas get together at Cut in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And he comes, we didn't know he was going to be there, but he comes in the room and somebody's like, hi, and he goes, you should take a picture with me. They didn't know who he was. He's the greatest. Everybody else is quiet because they're like, oh, he's here. He's like, hi, how is everything or whatever. And he's like, you should take a picture.
He's a very cool guy. Jose Andres.
He's always in a good mood too.
Always in a good mood.
He just walks around and says hi and then leaves. He must have a driver outside in Beverly Hills. He goes to Spago, he goes to all his restaurants. It says hi, tells a story, and
it's really cool. But it's like bringing all those guys in, bringing, Gordon Ramsay into the restaurants. And as we would start, get properties going, the LXR, in West Hollywood, it's in the London. We brought Gordon Ramsay in right from the beginning, and he started it and helped, launch the restaurant and launch the brand that was London Hotel.
That was a great restaurant in there. Were you running that?
I wasn't running it, but I was at Hilton at the time, and it fell under us.
So I used to live in Orange County, and I would come up to LA for the weekend or for a week, and I would stay there. Those rooms were great, but that food that he had in that restaurant punched way above its weight.
Way above its weight. And again, that was like one of the properties. It's like you talk about design. It's like, it was like there was the school of thought at that property was, opposite of what I was saying. You want to see, from a typical room, you want to see the TV with the desk. They wanted to hide the desk altogether.
In those, the bed was in the middle of the room.
Bed in the middle of the room,
around it.
Bed in the middle of the room, put the desk behind it because we don't want people, we want people looking out. We want people like in this experience and put the work behind them. Right? Put work behind you. And it's like, that's what people forget. In the business I'm in today, it's student housing. I don't sell beds. When I was in the hotel business, I didn't sell rooms. You sell an experience. Right? And that's, and that's
a feeling, really.
A feeling, right? And
so when you're talking about design, what about textures? Like in colors, like carpet versus hard linoleum or, tile versus yellow or beige or like red, like some hotels, like everything's red. Like,
that's where I learned, again, not to make enemies. Where you can make a lot of enemies is sitting in a design review committee meeting and everybody has an opinion. Right? It's like armpits. Everybody's got two. And so.
But what effect do those have on the client more is my opinion.
Huge effect.
So which ones work and why?
Huge effect. And
where do you put them in the hotel?
You're constantly looking, you're working with outside design firms. You're working with your internal design firm, or business. And it's constantly a balancing act. It's constantly a juggling act. And it's,
like if I remember that London, was it that whole lobby carpet?
God, I don't even remember.
I think it was the whole. I remember.
Probably was.
It caught my attention because usually, and I was like, man, somebody's got to vacuum this like constantly. Yeah. But it was very posh. Like it felt like you were in a club,
right,
a private club or a speakeasy versus a hotel.
And it was probably carpet tiles. And early on, carpet tiles, everybody was like, no, with these carpet tiles, they're going to curve in the corners. They're not going to stick right. You can't have that. Carpet tiles are easy.
Works great.
Everything, they're perfect. You just stain, it's gone.
We got a bunch of them over there if one needs.
It's perfect. And it is, but the design, it's a challenge for me. I'm not great with it because the designers are showing you something right now that you're making decisions on that is an idea. And I'm still working on trying to get it funded. I'm still working on, is this a feasible project?
So you're not talking about the experience that you want people to have.
I'm setting the stage, what kind of experience I want. But yet I'm having to look at designs today and pick colors for something that's going to be out of the ground in 5 years. And so right now I'm seeing, oh, like, look at all these great grays and look at all these colors. And they're like, no. This is where it's going. And I'm like, I can't get my head around it. But that's when you start talking about some of these brighter colors or some of this crazier artwork and some of this other stuff that pops. I'm like, how's this going to work? Because you got to, those guys are always looking at the future trends. They're seeing, and for me, it's hard to envision it, but it works. And it is a huge impact on that guest experience. It's a huge impact on any experience. And it's just these guys, these architects and these designers, they're just remarkable. It's kind of how they can come up with these things and invent this stuff is amazing to me.
I mean, maybe you can tell that we're a fan of that here,
Yeah.
like the way we've laid this out, but also like that we have our own kitchen that we could have a chef come in and cook. And, we used to host meetings in hotels, but
Right.
It's like you pay $40 a head for a bologna sandwich
Right.
that's late and they treat you terribly and whatever. And it's like, no, we want home field advantage. We want to serve them incredible food. We want to control the temperature in the room,
Right.
the light, everything.
The music, and here. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you want to be here? And it is, this is home. It's more personal. I mean, to be invited here to this is an honor, and others should feel like that. And rather than hosting them at some generic, can be anywhere.
The content doesn't have to be as good here. The room doesn't. Okay, back to the accidental president. Any other big takeaways? You love an underdog story, you said.
I love an underdog story. Yeah, I mean, it's.
And do you relate to being the underdog?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think like a lot of other people had to, work, hard to get, where I'm at. And, it may not have been intentional. Maybe to a certain degree, it was accidental. I was lucky. I mean, luck plays as much a part in it as hard work.
Do you really believe that?
I think so. Yeah, at least in my case. I mean, if I didn't have I was lucky that my wife went along with all this kind of stuff. I was lucky that that I didn't completely, blow up my daughter's lives by, moving 14, 15, 17 times. There's a lot of luck to that. There was a lot of luck to the right, the right people noticing things, but it was also hard work. It was taking the job that nobody else wanted. And I think to a certain degree, that's why maybe the book resonates with me, because he didn't want the job.
That might be the most deprecating thing you've said.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Because it contradicts that you took the job nobody else wanted, but it was luck. There's clear intention and strategy, but you're saying it's luck, but it was strategy.
I
mean, if you're looking around, nobody else is doing what you were doing. So that's not luck.
Yeah, I think, but nobody else is doing it. But also, I probably wasn't the first thought on a lot of those things. But I think after a while, everybody just knew that they could call on me to do whatever. I'd be like, yeah, I'll do it.
But that's not luck.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
No, it's a track record of results.
Okay, well, I'll take that. I'll take that win. How's that?
You use self-deprecation as a
I'll take
distraction.
I'll take that win. You think?
Yeah, I think if you got over the self-deprecation,
Should I lie on the couch?
You'd write a book.
Really?
Yeah, because the things that you're naturally intuitively doing, fixing stuff.
Yeah.
People don't know, but you're writing it off as normal.
It should be.
It's not normal.
It's not?
Oh, it should be, but you got to write the book so people can understand it, because it's not.
I don't know. It just feels like it's like kind of normal.
Then why are you in demand if it's normal? Luck? It's a
blind squirrel nuts.
You got a what do you call it? A guardian angel opening doors for you?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, what else from the book?
No, I think that it just would again, the underlying theme that you don't have to have this amazing pedigree. You don't have to have a Ivy League education to succeed. And everyone can make their own success. You just got to be willing to make tough decisions. You got to be and stand behind those decisions. no regrets, no second guessing yourself. You made the decision, and in his case, he made life and death decisions. I don't do that. So it's like, why should I take some of this stuff so seriously? I'm not, leading a country into war or out of war or people out of starvation. It's like, I'm selling an
rooms.
experience. I'm selling rooms. I'm selling beds. I'm selling, heads and beds. It's like, come on. Like,
I got that when I read Jocko's Extreme Ownership.
Not read it.
It's great. It's a great book, but he's talking about accepting responsibility, and you're like, well, if he doesn't, people die. If I don't, we try again.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Exactly. Oh,
Nobody's dying.
It's like, shit, that didn't work. And then you can laugh about it, right? You're like, oh man, that was the dumbest idea
But
ever.
it does give it perspective, like, in that sense. So how did the accidental president, Harry S. Truman, and the 4 months that changed the world change your life?
I would say that it encouraged me. I don't know. I guess I'd just say he encourages me, period. And just leave it at that. It's just something I think about now regularly at times when I get a little bit frustrated, I get a little bit caught up in my own way, or if, things aren't going right, I'm like, hey, if that guy can do it, and I've got all the benefits of today, modern society, and, have, created wealth, I can do it. I think that's it.
How many times have you read it?
3.
3?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. 3.
That's awesome. Do you have I Am Leader?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I'm going to give it to you.
I would love it.
The one thing I need to start doing from a hospitality point of view is I got to start taking the plastic off of these before I hand it to people.
Why?
Because it ends up taking 25 minutes for somebody to look at it.
Why does it take 25 minutes?
Well, I don't know.
The plastic's that bad?
So first it comes with you're going to put that on your hotel room.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Do you recognize these?
Well, I mean, fantastic. Oh my God, that's amazing.
So, and then you have a little activation. So there's an app that comes with this. You activate it, and there's video courses in there and a community where, you can share with others. But here's the other 10 minutes is this. So you have to.
Did you design the whole book?
Yeah. I mean, I have help, but it's me.
Right. And you designed it.
I have a great team.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the images and the graphics and all that, I mean, it's over the top. I mean, it's surprising.
Well, it's built for outcome.
I mean, it's really good.
So the idea is that it's not something that you can take lightly. You have to spend time with it.
Yeah.
It's of the size and weight that is important.
Right.
And then it's not about word count. The words that are on the pages matter. In the way that it's laid out, there's a tempo to it, that sort of thing.
It's really, it's remarkable. And the surprising thing, I mean, it's like to start, right? I mean, seriously? I mean, that kind of like kicks you in the nuts.
That does 2 things. One is,
can I say that?
You know what you're in for.
Right.
So you're either in or out. You don't have to get halfway in and be offended.
Right. This is awesome. This is for me, this is great. So thank you.
You know what my kind of ambition is to move this library to a hotel in Vegas.
Really?
Like once I get the workshops, if I can get like 100 people a week signing up.